Children in movies can be something good or bad. Depends on how are they used. They may be the victims of something sinister, or they may be the villains of the story. Sometimes they may be even the devil himself. Anyway, children in movies are used because of the element of purity. They may be or face the evil. And as I know there are many children who loves a horror movie, I decided to make this video with 2 suggestions that I think children can watch with no problems. My name is Gustavo, but you can call me Gus, and let's go! The Gate is a movie from 1987 who has one of the best horror movie plots for kids produced in the 80s. In the plot, 3 kids, Glenn, Terry, and Al, discover a big hole in their front yard after one tree was removed. A hole that could be nothing less than a portal straight to hell. To make things even better, these kids are alone in their houses for the weekend because their parents traveled. That is, this is the perfect mix. Parents traveling for the weekend plus kids alone in their houses equals a portal to hell. This is one of the few movies that shows the universe of a child in relation to horror stories, horror myths, horror mythologies, in a very realistic way. After all, who hasn't tried to spin a heavy metal vinyl backwards just to listen to the demonic lyrics of the songs on the contrary and check if there was any satanic message hidden? Who has never tried to make some kind of demonic ritual at home with your friends just to see if you could make some contacts with ghosts? Who has never tried to read some kind of demonic ritual in front of a hole just to see if any demon comes out of it? This movie has all of this. And during the movie, the adults, the parents in the case, are absent during the whole story, which turns the things even more sinister to these kids, because they don't have any protection around. The main character of the movie is this kid Glenn, and yes, if you didn't recognize this child, he is the young Stephen Dorff, which eventually would become the greatest foe of the movie Blade. He lives with his older sister Al, or Alexandra, who became responsible for the house after the parents left. His best friend is Terry, a kid that is a mix of nerd with rocker and lives in the neighbor house, and he's the one who brings all the references to satanic rituals. The 3 characters are very charismatic and you get attached to them very quickly. So when things start to get dark, which means the sinister things start to happen around the house, you can really identify yourself with their fear because it comes out very natural from the actors. And we have so many dark elements in this movie. We have Terry having visions of his dead mother, a woman who died long ago. We have demons' arms coming from under the bed to catch anybody's leg. We have Glenn and Al's parents returning home, but it's actually a vision from Glenn. And their faces melt when the boy touches them, which is very creepy. We have an eyeball opening the palm of Glenn's hand. We have a zombie that comes from one of the walls in the house. We have some terrible looks from the 80s as well. But the main attraction among all this are the minions. These are the little demons that come out from the hole to hell, and they have some of the best scenes in the movie, because they are small but they are many, and besides their little arms they also have sharp teeth. And talking about practical effects that I love, these minions are a great example of practical effects being used by a production with intelligence. There are elements of stop-motion dolls, real actors wearing minion suits, being shot in a different studio, acting with bigger objects to give them this proportion of being little creatures, chroma key with blue background, and my favorite effect, forced perspective. A gimmick used especially in photographs to make an object of medium or small size look a lot bigger or smaller against another in a different perspective. And all these effects escalate during the movie until the big climax, that we have a final boss that is a gigantic minion with many arms and tentacles, another example of a perfect use of stop motion that creates an amazing final showdown. And this is The Gate, a horror movie for children with children, that if you are looking for something that is not very dark but not very soft for your kids to watch, this is an amazing option. But if you want something a lot softer but still with some elements of horror, The Monster Squad is a perfect choice. A movie that is known for being a less famous cousin of The Goonies, but that I personally love much more. In this movie that is also from 1987, a group of kids that are fanatics for horror movie monsters forms a team called The Monster Squad. And together they will protect their town from, you know what? a monster invasion. Nothing less than Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the creature from the Black Lagoon, amongst others. The group of kids is formed by their leader Sean, his best friend Patrick, the clumsy Oris, the younger sister of Sean, Phoebe, the little Eugene, and the most stylish and my favorite of the group, Rudy, a boy who dresses with a style straight from the 50s. The plot of the movie starts in the 1800s with the vampire hunter Van Helsing, who breaks into Dracula's castle and discovers that he has an amulet that can control the balance of the forces of good and evil. To beat his enemy, he needs to get the amulet and read a spell that will open a portal and imprison Dracula forever. The problem is that the spell goes wrong, then an apprentice from Van Helsing immigrates to America, taking the amulet with him to keep it away from the Count Dracula. 100 years later, Dracula comes to America and recruits all the classic monsters to recover his lost amulet. What is so wonderful about this movie? To start, we have all the classic monsters of movies on screen, but with modernized looks created by the master of visual effects, Dan Winston, a guy who created nothing less than the Terminator, the Predator, and the Alien. We have kids getting together in a super fun adventure to hunt the monsters of the title, with the plus of a rock song montage of the time. We have the amazing plot that the Frankenstein is a nice monster, who instead of helping the monsters, he helps the group of kids, becoming great friends with them, especially the little girl Phoebe. The movie also has great jokes, especially two that makes me laugh until this day. One of them is when Sean receives the diary of Van Helsing that possesses the instructions on how to use the amulets against Dracula. The problem is that the diary is in German, so they need a German-speaking person to translate it. So they are forced to call the scary German guy of the neighborhood, an old man that always freaked them out, and they never imagined that they would have to call him someday, revealing that he is a very kind man and very important for the plot. The other fun part is when they discover they have to read the spell with the amulet to send Dracula to another dimension. But this spell can only be read by a young virgin, so they go to the older sister of Patrick, thinking she is the only one who can read the spell because she says she is virgin. Just so they discover later that she's not so virgin as she says. In the end of the day, this movie has some sinister moments, but the focus is not on the horror, but yes in the fun and adventure with these elements that were taken from horror movies of the past. So if you're looking for a movie with these classic elements to watch with your kids, without making them very scared and having nightmares at night, this movie is brilliant. Actually, it can be a very nice introduction for kids to the universe of horror movies. So this is my 2 suggestions of horror movies for kids, celebrating this lovely day. And if you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can keep trashing together. And this is it. See you in the next Trashing with Gus, and bye bye.